YouTube comments are suspicious. I've seen quite a lot of clowning online, but today we're going to try to cut through everything and work out what's actually going on with the day before. Now, when we last were touching on this story, they had a pretty damn crazy situation with the name of their game being trademarked without their involvement. This ended up with the Steam page being pulled down, which absolutely stings if you are one of the most wishlisted games on Steam. They delayed the game then by 8 months till November 10th, and then they said that for the gameplay video, they're going to consult with lawyers first and then publish it. Now, to try to clarify some of this, the company's co-founders actually went to the press. They went to IGN, and they said that actually they planned a delay the day before. Not literally, but they actually already did plan to delay the game. But then the whole trademark thing happened, and that sped up the process of them announcing. They said, we plan to move the game's release before, and plan to announce it with the publisher, Matona, with a 10-minute gameplay video. Right? So overall, they're saying, we're going to delay this anyway, and this just sped up the process. What I think here is that the way that they did it made it seem like, of course, the trademark issue was the reason for the delay. And to a lot of people, that didn't really pass muster, therefore, giga suspicion, right? So one thing that I think is going to be a theme as we go through this is I do not think that they are particularly effective with their communications. They splashed onto the scene, obviously, very successfully with the, the trailer that they did with IGN back last year. But since then, I think not a particularly good job. Anyway, they said the usual, right, about why they're doing the delay, more content, more polish, stuff like that. Now, they also know that people are saying, is this game even real? Is this a scam? And they've basically talked to that by saying, right, Matona are publishing the game. They fully funded it. We've not asked for pre-orders, and we didn't kickstart or anything like that. That absolutely is the case. One of the things that I saw a lot of people saying is, oh my god, if they announce pre-orders at the end of this trailer, it will be, the biggest drama. And they didn't, which absolutely is key in this story. But still, it is a pretty sus situation overall. They've basically said, trust us, it'll be fine, we're not trying to screw you over. But I think people are still fairly concerned. And that's what takes us immediately to the gameplay reveal, right? So we got 10 minutes of raw gameplay showing the game off. And that's really what a lot of people had previously asked for, because the game exploded onto the scene, went decently viral. People obviously want to see the actual proof. They don't want bullshots, right? They don't want something that's overly scripted because they want, oh, okay, that's evidence of the game. So we actually did get the trailer, okay? And yes, it starts off with some stuff that's a bit more tightly cut together, but for the most part, it is, if you were to, I suppose, try to smash together some things from The Last of Us and some things from The Division, if you smash those things together, there you go. There's a lot of walking. We get to do things such as loot cupboards. There's not a massive amount of action. They go through quite a lot of menus and that sort of thing with the gun customization system. We get to see the environments, but not a massive amount. And then eventually, a decent few minutes in, there's actually some action going on, right? Now, if you remember the famous Ubisoft character, Bronson, from their E3 presentations, that's going to come up soon. Okay, so what did we actually see? Well, we saw evidence of a day-night cycle. We saw gun customization. We saw some minor puzzle elements that were present in the past trailer. We saw first-person and third-person shooting. Now, that being said, there are some things that raised questions, right? Did we see more than 10 zombies on the screen at once? No, we didn't. We didn't see the zombies really get in and actually hit the player. They were just being shot, right? So when we look at this, it's undeniable that there is a video game here, right? It does actually exist, and that certainly is a good thing. But what it is a fairly unstructured, basically it's B-roll, right? It's like if you hit the record button when you were playing the game and you threw 10 minutes of that in YouTube. Not particularly high action or anything like that. Very raw in terms of the gameplay, which is very much unlike the initial reveal that they had, or what I would say, what The Division did. And that's why I bring up Ubisoft's famous group of fake-acted gamers. I only remember one of their names, and it is Bronson. But do you remember the reveals for Rainbow Six Siege for games like The Division? You had this squad of people on voice chat, and they were trying to get this strange mix of acting like they're taking the gameplay situation extremely seriously, as if they are Tier 1 operators or something like that, while also obviously being acted gamers doing some gaming. And it did feel quite stilted, it felt quite bizarre. But I'll tell you what it did do. It did effectively communicate the core reasons why you would want to play that game. So if you look at a game like The Division, there's a lot of running and opening your bags and tinkering with things. Is that what we saw with Bronson and co? No. We saw a pretty tight cadence of going from objective to objective with things happening. And that ended up, I think, working quite well. Yes, it was clowned on, but everybody knew what the game was like, and they saw at least the fantasy of how it would be played. So it did a pretty good job of communicating those things. When we look here at this trailer, it's just raw gameplay. You know, where it's like, where's the music? Where's the, you know, where's the editing? Where's the craft? And it's the sort of thing where in the absence of information, people will only really, they'll just take what they're given. Now, if you were to try to steelman their perspective, they would say, right, well, we got a lot of attention with our initial trailer, which was, you know, bit more scripted, bit more high-octane feeling. Here, we're really just giving proof to our audience that the game exists. Now, that is true. But are there ways that you could give the audience proof of the game's existence that are perhaps going to be more effective, especially when that audience has been primed to really be quite suspicious as to the degree of this game's existence, right? They also, by the way, did show off some screenshots, NPCs, some more locations. Overall, what did we see features-wise? Well, we saw the modern post-apocalyptic setting, we saw the MMO-like elements, we saw the third-person shooting, but with no floaty damage like in The Division, which is good. They showed crafting. Did they show off their sound-based stealth mechanics? No. Base building? No. Tarkov-style looting? Yes. The community online features, like with the PvP? No. The driving with the sort of Splintires-like amazing mud simulation stuff? No. The various survival meters that a lot of people like, you know, thirst, temperature, etc. No. So, is this a bad starting point? No. Are, like, looting, shooting, and moving about the place core parts of this game? Yes. But people did expect to see a bit more, given that the last bit of info they had was that this game was going to come out in March. Then they hear about the trademark thing, and they hear about the trademark and the delay at the same time, making it seem like they are very causally linked, and then they see this as the gameplay and think, oh wait, is this what was going to launch in like next month? Where's all the stuff? If you have all these things, why aren't you showing us raw gameplay of those things? And that is, I think, precisely why we get a very, very suspicious community reaction. For a game that was previously meant to come out this month, this sure is a unique gameplay reveal. Man, those 4 whole zombies were super tense. Game of the Year material. Skill up. Personally, I think this looks to be a shot in the arm that the walking simulator genre desperately needs. Excited. Again, like, that is not what they want. And the thing is, if you were to just show 10 random minutes of The Division gameplay, like, that is the sort of comment that you would get. If you show off with Bronson and co. in the way that Ubisoft did, this is not what you would get, because people would see extended periods of what appears to be raw gameplay, but actually with enough action and context so that they can understand the full game experience that the company is trying to trying to give them. Now, this has then led to, well, overall the press. Right. PC Games N. The day before is a bland mix of Fortnite, The Division, and zombies. Is that the headline that you want? No. Are there ways that headline could have been different? I would say yes. And this is the thing. If this game is just an open world with a bunch of stuff, smuttered about, and you just go around with your looting and your shooting, but it doesn't feel particularly crafted in its in the experiences it's providing, then people are going to say that, and that's going to be right. Now, if this 10 minutes of raw gameplay was, say, the player getting an objective, moving through a more tightly level designed area, showing off the sound-based stealth mechanics, maybe some excellent audio design. Perhaps at the end they have to make a quick getaway after attracting a large quantity of zombies. They get into a car, but perhaps it's not a very it's not a very good car. It's not one that's going to be fantastic. Maybe in the mud, then the car gets like a bit stuck in the mud. You get to see some of the traction while the zombies are like coming up in the car. That would have been the sort of thing that would get you the exact opposite of this headline. And based on what they initially showed off via that IGN reveal, that's what people wanted to see just evidential footage of. Because we all know that like if you just have zombies, the Division with no numbers in a city, there's ways where that can be a really good game. There's also ways where that can be precisely the PC Games and headline. Going through Reddit, yeah, not particularly happy. The Day Before subreddit, people feeling pretty damn let down. Now, Fantastic have also been able to speak out publicly. Apparently somebody is reaching out to YouTubers and streamers to get coverage, but it's not them. Here we've got this screenshot. Okay, this is from Discord of a bot. And then they've said, cases where some people write on behalf to streamers about cooperation have become more frequent. We never wrote to anyone. We're restoring the Steam page. We hope this happens quickly. This is all bizarre, and it's bizarre and it's messy. I suppose I do have to wonder, like, with this being a game that's, like, obviously heavily targeting things that we've have went down pretty well in the Western market, you do maybe wonder, like, is there some inexperience there? Is, is stuff perhaps lost in, a language divide, that kind of thing? Does this lead to the expectations management being what it is? How necessarily good are they at doing this kind of thing? And that's really where we just have to talk about the expectations and the danger of hype, because there was, I think, an outsized amount of hype for this game. Your imagination could really run wild with the initial reveal that it's had. Now, when you look at the previous games that they made, they were small multiplayer-focused things that didn't really go anywhere. And the other thing that they do is a piece of enterprise remote work software. But overall then, like when people see, right, this is The Division meets The Last of Us, but actually what we wanted from The Division, also with Tarkov and Splintires for good measure, like that is a massive amount of, hype that could build up. And I think one of the challenges that we're going to get is that as the accessibility of photoreal environments increases and increases, I think we're going to have more and more things that, hey, it looks like a AAA, moves like a AAA, talks like a AAA, sounds like a AAA, it's a AAA. I'll have AAA expectations. And that is the other side of an indie being able to punch massively above their weight. Because previously, like, an indie game would look like an indie game. There'd be just some sorts of settings and, visual aesthetics that you could only really get from AAA. And that's going to be absolutely brutal in terms of expectations. Now, if you compound that by really not doing a good job of setting and managing expectations, I think you have a perfect storm for this, for this overall situation. But plenty of that, like, it is their own fault. They have not done that well. Game itself, this is from their Steam page. The Day Before is an open-world MMO survival set in a deadly post-pandemic America overrun by flesh-hungry infected and survivors killing each other for food, weapons, and cars. And then you look at the fidelity of the game, you look at the promise of its initial reveal. In one way, it's like, what chance would they have to stand against this? But also, it's like, well, they knowingly set this expectation as part of their marketing campaign. Did they go harder than they were able to deliver? Because now the game's been delayed by 8 months. There had been delays before. And if we see a delay that suspiciously is not really showing off some features that we saw earlier on and that were talked about earlier on, maybe will start to assume that things have been cut. Maybe some things are going to be a post-launch update. But the point is, people don't exactly know. And they feel like they've been led on a little bit. I mean, for another game that went absolutely viral, just look at Hytale. They're a local company here in Northern Ireland, but like, man, Hytale, with its initial reveal, went absolutely goddamn humongous. Humongous expectations set. I think maybe they run into some, whatever, right? They're required by Riot. The game's definitely, it's in the oven for longer than I think people initially expected. And that does mean that whenever they show the game off again properly, it is going to have to nail all of that initial promise and hype and then some, because people will have expected the time to have really paid off. And I suppose that's the thing. It is easy to make prototypes of things that look incredible. Tying that into a full game where it all works together is much harder. So yeah, you can get your splint tires, you can get that, you can cut them all together into a brilliant trailer, but can you tie all of those together in a game with, finished level of polish, with all of that content being supported everywhere, with it all being QA tested? Like, that is a very different beast. And that is why a lot of gamers are worried about bull shots. They're worried about, vertical slices that do not represent the full game. And that is the tricky thing. Because I can say this from like the indie perspective, if you're going to attract funding from a publisher, you need to show, or not need to, but it bloody well helps if you have a vertical slice of your game and a good development plan to, have a whole game at the level of that vertical slice. And sure, you may miss target, you'll probably have to cut things during development, etc. That's all fairly normal. And a publisher would generally expect that kind of thing to happen, which is probably why them and Matona are fine. But when you bring the audience in and that is when you're playing with fire. Thankfully, this is not kickstarted. There are no pre-orders. So people may feel like some emotional energy and investment could be lost. But at least money hasn't entered the picture, because that would certainly make things look worse. Overall then, that is my opinion in this. Funny enough, our game we revealed a decent while ago. We've actually now got the launch trailer out. You can play a 2-hour demo of our game that so far people really do seem to be loving, and our release date is the 24th of February. So if you want to check out The Pale Beyond, a narrative survival role-playing game, pretty damn harsh Antarctic-inspired setting, then hey, go check it out. Stuff's looking real good, and I cannot wait for launch on the 24th of February this year. So links down below. Other than that, though, hope you found today's video interesting, and I'll see you next time.